totally forgotten about it because I didn't participate in it. But do you remember Hands Across America in 1986?
Oh yeah, none of us participated. That was all virtual, like special effects.
Well, it went through Pittsburgh. You might have been in Pittsburgh.
I was.
So
I saw it on TV.
Go through Pittsburgh.
I'm like, this is all fake. This is just special effects Steven Spielberg put together.
It's like the moon landing. It's totally made up. People aren't really holding. No, but I think I was at that point, because I'd spent the $2.99 on that Band-Aid single to help the starving kids in Africa, and then I bought the USA for Africa album on cassette. I think I blew $8.99 on that, and it was like 1-2 years later, and they're still starving in Africa, and I'm like, no, I really don't think that I can. I'm not going to be duped anymore. Like this money is not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of writing to, I believe he's Sir Bob Geldof now, and asking if I could get my $2.99 back that I spent in 1984 on Do They Know It's Christmas, the 45.
84. That was 84. Yeah,
it was Christmas in 84. And I
Hands Across America was like 86.
86, May 25th, 1986.
I remember the cameraman saying, or somebody like, there's supposed to be all across America, but there's large gaps here and there where there were no people. But that's, yeah. And then they zoomed in, and it was because Maud was murdering all those people.
It's the Seti Bimco Show with your hosts, Tim and John. The show is haunted by the ghost of Jane Austen. Maybe you'll see her.
But the Seti Bimco Show, a show about high school weirdness and calamities, both real and in movies. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we'll watch movies that have nothing to do with high school, I guess.
Just something that was around when we were growing up. It may have been, in some cases we were very young children, like 7 or 8 years old, like the movie we're going to talk about this week.
Yes. What's the name of this movie?
Yeah, it's called Satan's School for Girls.
Okay.
See, last week Tim picked The Boys Next Door. Tim went with the boys. I went with the girls, which is like a total 180 of what we normally do. So this is like some sort of bizarro, alternate,
it's like the Twilight Zone,
alternate dimension where like Tim picks the boys and I pick the girls. Mm-hmm. And Seti Bimco is a podcast where we have about 3 million listeners, and where we talk about our lives as ex-underwear models, and not like JCPenney catalog underwear models. We're like, I'm talking like Calvin Klein, Ralph Lauren, Aussie Bum. And I mean, as long as we're doing all that, we complain about having, abnormally massive penises, and it's that is the alternate universe.
Okay,
that's our alternate universe.
Oh, yeah. I got it. I didn't get that. It's funny you mentioned models, because if we're going to talk about what we did this week, I watched there's a documentary about Abercrombie and Fitch. Oh, did you hear about this?
I have heard about it. I haven't seen it yet.
Do you know the kind of basic scandal?
Wasn't it? It wasn't like questioning, like it was sort of borderline softcore porn. Is that what they're getting at?
Well, no. The basic problem was they were hiring white blonde people and it was like, this is our clean American look. And if they came in the store and there's too many people of color, they're like, put those people in the back. Need to hire some white people out here front. So that's basically what was happening.
Oh, I see. So it was sort of like, Hitler and the Final Solution, the Aryan master race at Abercrombie and Fitch.
If you look back at those old ads, it's just young guys and girls, blonde, white.
Yeah. Sure.
And the other thing was the man who took the photos. What was his name? Bruce Weber.
Bruce Weber, yes.
He's known for taking some erotic photographs, and all those photographs are very erotic of young men. And like they were mentioning that all the kids love the clothes, that went totally over their head. How
they weren't really
homoerotic that was.
Yeah, and they weren't really wearing the clothes. They
weren't wearing the clothes, just their underwear.
Yeah, this is what you would look like. Basically, you don't need to go to the gym, just wear Abercrombie and Finch, and you will have a body like that.
They had a shirt. They had these fake logos, these fake shirts, and that one was a Japanese laundromat. And they had the 2 stereotypical Asian cartoon people, and it said 2 Wongs can make it white. So I don't even remember this, but then a lot of people started boycotting the stores. A lot of Asian Americans and other people, and just boycotting how that was awful.
I vaguely kind of remember.
Now you're like, yeah, I shop there all the time. I don't.
Oh God, no! I was not. Trust me, because by the time Abercrombie and Finch started getting hot, I was like,
yeah, me too.
I think I was already in my early 30s. I don't think I was their target demographic.
We were already taking aspirin after going out and having 2 beers the night before.
Exactly. Yeah. Geez, I wish I could just get by with 2 aspirin now. I can't even do that.
But there's a mansion for sale. You sent me an email.
Yes, the Mackenzie Childs estate. I'm using air quotes.
For $1 million, you can live in Auburn.
1.8 million. Actually, it's
1.8 million.
Actually, it's out. Actually, you've been by it several times. You probably didn't realize it, or maybe you did.
Well, I don't think I did realize it. But I know what part of town.
It's on Route 90 between King Ferry and Aurora.
Okay. So what town is it? That's the town we went through. When we were going to see you.
Yes.
And I said, look, Gene, there's a whole crowd of angry white people marching down the street. And that's what it looked like. I don't know what they were doing.
I don't know. It's like when they have those anti-GOP rallies in the Commons in Ithaca, and it's like, isn't this kind of an echo chamber? You got like 88% of the population voting Democratic. I mean, are you really going out on a limb here?
Hey, they got to show up.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know, But anyway. So it's on the market for $1.8 million. With my savings, I figure I only need to come up with $970, and it could be mine.
When we get a sponsor.
Yeah, we do need a sponsor, but I don't think it's going to be Victoria and Richard Mackenzie Childs. But anyway, it was their former home, and I used to work for them. And as a matter of fact, if you pull up, and I don't know what that website is now. I think about, I'm not going to advertise.
You're not going to advertise it. Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so
if you pull it up, you can see where John buried a body on their estate.
They're under trees. There's this one shot of this brick driveway, and there are these trees going down either side. And I helped plant those trees 31 years ago. And under each of those trees is a body.
So let's talk about this movie. This is a week we talk about a movie because we usually interview somebody every other week.
Or so.
So, John, did you write a synopsis to start us off?
Well, let me start out with the reason why I came up with this. Came up with this. I sort of stumbled upon it. And, I always like to check Chris Pine's Wikipedia biography just in case he decided to come out of the closet. And normally it's like he's dating. Like I'm hoping, it was, in March of 2022, Chris Pine announced that he is now openly gay. But no, it keeps saying that it keeps saying that he's in relationships. His latest beard was one Annabella Wallace, a British actress. But apparently they have broken up. They dated until 2021. So 2018 to 2021. But
was she a British actress who was on Doctor Who?
Yes. So they break up. Yes. And it was actually on people.com. They break up after 4 years of dating. She just got tired of being the beard. Tim.
Okay.
So anyway, I'm looking through. And of course I know about Robert Pine being his dad. He was the sergeant on Chips.
I don't think I knew that.
You did not know that?
I did not.
Do you recall Chips?
Yeah, I didn't love it, but I saw it here and there.
Well, he was the sergeant. I
remember his face, blonde guy.
No, that was Larry Wilcox. Maybe he was kind of blonde. I don't know. He was a little darker hair. He was like, he was like the boss, and that was Chris. Okay. That's Chris Pine's father. And then I also found out his mother is one Gwynne Guilford, who was an actress. She's a retired American actress and psychotherapist, because of course, one leads to the other. And then I just happened to go through and had roles in the film, and they go through and it's like Satan's School for Girls, 1973. I'm like, Satan's School for Girls?
What?
I got to check this out. So here we go. So Satan's School for Girls, it's a 1973 American made-for-television horror film produced by one Mr. Aaron Spelling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Leonard Goldberg was the other producer. He currently is doing Blue Bloods. He's done a lot of television too.
But did you see who wrote this?
Yes, it was A.A. Ross, which is Arthur A. Ross, who was Oscar nominated for writing the original screenplay for Brubaker. Mm-hmm. And he also co-wrote the original Creature from the Black Lagoon in 1954.
Yeah, that's what I was surprised to see.
But I was, so the Brubaker, that was the Robert Redford movie. And he got nominated for a Academy Award for writing that. And I was like, well, so actually, you got, like his television or not, Aaron Spelling was pretty successful at what he did. Leonard Goldberg, I knew, and you had this fantastic.
Aaron Spelling was always odd to me. All the stuff he produced, it's not like he directed it, but it always has this. He's the opposite of David Lynch. David Lynch, you can tell there's a lot going on under the surface, even if it looks normal. Aaron Spelling's stuff looks normal, and I'm like, there's nothing going on under the surface.
There's nothing really going on under there. There's nothing really good. He obviously knows something. What he obviously had his, to use a metaphor, had his finger on the pulse of America, because
many things.
That's what they wanted.
For people who don't know, Love Boat,
Fantasy Island,
90210, was that him?
90210, Melrose Place, Dynasty,
and Seventh Heaven.
Seventh Heaven, yes, which I never really saw. Again, I wasn't the demographic for Seventh Heaven. Again,
it's funny. I must have been something going on in my life that time. I would see that on, and I'd kind of watch it and be like, that's okay. But it had Captain Decker from Star Trek Motion Picture, and it had the woman from Star Trek 4, who was the marine biologist. So it was really odd what these two, if I remember right. Yeah.
Yes, and I can't remember the actress's name, but yes.
She went on to be in the first Chucky movie, didn't she?
Was she? Yes, I believe you're right. Was she the mother? Yeah. No, I'd forgotten about it. Now that she mentioned, yes, she was the marine biologist. Actually, Star Trek 4 might have been my favorite Star Trek movie in the whole series. Controversial
statement. Let's move on.
Well, it was very timely though at the time. You know what I mean about the ecology and the environment, and so I think maybe that's why.
Are you watching Picard?
I am not watching Picard. I really
don't care.
But no, it's not that I don't care. I've just been kind of budgeting myself.
Yeah, I didn't want to tell you. I didn't want to tell you a spoiler, but if you want to know a little thing,
well, go ahead, tell me. I'm sure I could read it online anyway.
Do you remember Star Trek 4? If you're not done watching Picard season 2 out there, just turn off the tape for a few seconds. Star Trek 4, remember they rode on the bus and there was the punk rocker playing the boombox.
And Spock gives him the Vulcan death grip?
Yes.
And
everybody claps. Well, little spoiler, they travel in time in Picard 2. They go to San Francisco. 2 different characters get on the bus. That same actor, same character, with a boombox in the year 24. It's like a little bit in the future.
Oh, wow.
He's playing music, and they ask him to turn it down like they did in the movie. And he goes, oh, sorry. I just like this song. And he turns it down. Same actor, same character.
Isn't that oh, wow, that's great. I did see where Star Trek Strange New Worlds, the actor who plays Spock is one.
Yeah, who is that?
Mr. Ethan Peck, grandson of Gregory Peck.
Oh, really?
Really?
I did not know that.
Yes, and is there another Star Trek Discovery? Is that the other? What's the other series?
Yes, that's yeah.
And I believe he plays Spock on that as well.
He did. This is a spin-off.
A spin-off of a spin-off of yeah. Okay.
I'm in it deep, John.
Yes.
Let's move on before our listeners start killing themselves.
Okay, let's get into Satan's School for Girls, because we are already, oh, gee whiz, what are we into? Oh, we're 25 minutes into this dog and pony show already.
Well, this movie is, I'm going to have fun talking about it, but there's not a lot to talk about this movie. It's pretty short, and there's not much going on underneath the surface. Here's
the thing. There's a lot that could have been going on, but I'll talk about that later. There's a lot that happened in about the last 15 or 20 minutes where I was like, you know what? If you had explored that thing that you just spent 2 lines talking about, that actually would have been a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, so we're going to start out with, I'm going to give the little opening synopsis of it.
Yes, do that.
A mysterious person seems to be chasing student Martha Sayers, who drives to her sister's lakeside house in Los Angeles. The same day, the police and Martha's sister Elizabeth find her hanged in the living room. The police rule her death an unmotivated suicide, but Elizabeth refuses to believe this and investigates further. She decides to visit the exclusive academy that Martha attended, the Salem Academy for Women, despite warnings from Martha's roommate, Lucy Dembrow, played by Gwyn Guilford, a.k.a. mother of Chris Pine. Under the assumed name of Elizabeth Morgan, she enrolls at the college where she is welcomed by her classmates, Roberta, Debbie, and Jody.
Oh, great. Don't make me remember these names. I'm
not going to make you remember those names.
Debbie.
Pull up the Wikipedia article and just look at the cast.
Oh, no, I did that.
That's what I do when I normally talk about these things. We can say Kate Jackson. We don't have to call her.
She was, I was like, Kate Jackson, wow.
We don't have to call her Roberta. We don't have to call Cheryl Ladd Jody. We'll just, because I don't remember their names. I kind of remember Roberta because they said her name a lot in the end. So, but we could just call him Cheryl Ladd. We're going to call her Jo Van Fleet.
I fell in love with Kate Jackson all over again. I got to say that, John.
She was. You know what? She was my favorite angel. I will say that.
I never watched that show.
I did. I had two, I had two brothers who would wind up growing up into heterosexual men, and we would have that on. And I
tried to watch it.
My also very heterosexual father. So, So yeah.
So she goes. Oh, are you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done. That's how the beginning starts. She's being followed. You never really see her being followed by anybody.
Oh, we're talking about the woman at the beginning.
The sister, yeah, the sister.
Yeah, she's running, she's driving her car, and we don't see what
payphone tries to collect the sister's not home. She said she'd be home. And I'm like, well, geez, bitch, you think she'd be sitting at home 24/7 waiting for a collect call she may or may not get from you? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Anyway. So you were going to add?
I've been derailed. Not by you, just my thoughts.
Well, there's a lot to think about.
I was going to say that they go to the house where the woman has hanged herself, or is that her roommate? And she asks the police if they can break the door open, and the cop instantly takes out his gun to shoot the lock off.
Well, you just couldn't put a little shoulder in that officer? I mean, come on.
It was the chain lock, too, for people who didn't see. It wasn't the lock. It was the chain lock.
It was just the chain lock. You just couldn't have just put a shoulder in it? I mean...
That was funny.
What if she was just standing right there on the other side of the door?
I know. What do you think it is? 2022? This police officer?
LAPD, there you go.
Not going to be a sponsor.
LAPD. Not going to be a sponsor. The Police Benevolent Association in Los Angeles will also not be a sponsor of this show. No, if you ever want to get frustrated about LAPD, you don't even have to go as far back, and you don't even have to go as far forward in history as OJ. Read Helter Skelter, how they botched all the evidence at Sharon Tate's house.
Right.
So
the police. So the police shoot the door down.
Yes. So they shoot.
She hung herself.
She hanged herself. And and then she goes to the cop and she's like, "I know she didn't." And he's like, "Well, everything was locked from the inside and she was hanging from the ceiling. I don't know what to tell you. It's like, we really are not going to investigate this any further."
And she says, "Can you help get her down?" And he takes out his gun, shoots the rope.
Somebody cut her down. Boom. And she just falls to the ground. Very, very insensitive, that LAPD.
So she gets into the school, which I guess is not very elite. We never saw her take a test, or she just showed up and got in. So
yes, and it's halfway through the term.
It's basically a community college. Salem's community college for girls.
Yes, it's one of those all women's colleges. And please, feminists, please do not write into me. I am a feminist. Trust me, I was raised by a single mother, so do not write into me. But there was this certain grade of school that were women only, where wealthy people would send their little princess.
Yes.
In the hopes of maybe snagging an engineering student from MIT nearby. Again, I'm not, don't accuse me of being a sexist. This is how it kind of was. This was 1973, before a woman could even get a credit card on her own.
Right. Is that true? Are you making that?
It is true. No, like Tim, in our lifetime, women
could not get a credit card.
Women could not get a credit card of their own until like 73, 74. I think Ford.
Did that come up in Trog?
Well, that was in the UK. I don't know.
Never mind. I'm trying.
This is in Massachusetts.
I'm pulling a joke out of nowhere.
Well, no, that was a good joke, but
no, it doesn't exist. The joke is not happening.
No, it doesn't really have to be a joke. It can be thought provoking, and I will be thinking the rest of the time. How did Joan Crawford start that anthropological institute if she couldn't get a credit card?
Right. That woman.
So she gets to this. School and she starts
all girls school because it's Aaron Spelling also.
And her name is Elizabeth Sayers, but she goes under the assumed name of Elizabeth Morgan. She wasn't very creative in her name, no. Like in her assumed identity. Like she really didn't,
First it was Smith, but she thought no,
not Smith. No, we couldn't do that. And so they call the headmistress Dragon Lady about 100 times. 100 times. Yeah, and they wind up calling her by her real name, which I think is Miss Williams at the end. Is it Miss Williams? Yes. But it's like, I don't ever remember them calling her by that name throughout the whole movie. Towards the end, they start calling. And the headmistress is played by Academy Award winner, Best Supporting Actress, Jo Van Fleet.
Right.
Again, another Academy Award winner, kind of on her last legs.
This is not her last movie, is it?
It is not her last movie. Actually, she did a Roman Polanski movie called The Tenant. Ooh. I did not realize, because I have seen both Repulsion, which was Polanski's first English language feature, and I also believe the first English language feature of Catherine Deneuve, if Dirk and Marcy are listening, because she was in The Hunger that they just reviewed a few weeks back.
That's right. We didn't mention Dirk yet this episode.
We did not mention Dirk yet.
It's bad. It's bad luck not to mention Dirk.
It really is. Or Marcy.
And Marcy too.
And
we just don't make fun of Marcy as much as Dirk.
So he called it the Apartment Trilogy. There was Repulsion. There was Rosemary's Baby, which was filmed in the Dakota. And then there was a third, and I don't know if I was even aware of this movie. And I'm sorry, I know. Again, don't send in emails. I know his sexual history aside, I do like a good Roman Polanski movie.
Okay. Chinatown. That's like one of my favorites.
Rosemary's Baby. Could have lived without the version of Macbeth, but anyway. There was a third part of that trilogy. It's called The Tenant, and I believe it came out in about 75, and she was in that.
Okay. What's somebody's last movie? We're going to find out who.
Well, it was pretty close to Jo Van Fleet's last movie, because I think she had this.
Yes, it counts.
I think she had this, the Roman Polanski movie, and an episode of Policewoman. Yeah, Satan's School for Girls in 1973, The Tenant in 1976. An episode of Policewoman starring Miss Angie Dickinson, who played the role in Ringo, the TV movie.
Yes.
And then there was a Mother Vonda in a TV movie called Power, and then something called Seize the Day from 1986, which I don't remember either. So she had 4 parts after this.
Okay.
But
this school is a totally normal school, right? I say so with the air quotes. Yeah, the air quotes. I went to art school, so I have a lot to say about this art teacher.
Okay, well, I was going to ask you some questions about if you looked at the boxes,
are they coming at you?
Are they coming at you, or are they receding? Can you blink your mind, Tim, and see that if the boxes were receding when you saw them coming out, or vice versa? Is that actually an exercise you learned in art school? I was going to ask you that question.
I'm going to say I think they showed us all those optical illusions in grade school. Those and those ambiguous images, you know what that is? That's where the picture could look like an old lady or a vase.
Right. And those, depending on your personality is how you...
Well, they say that. I don't know. It's a mystery. But that's grade school optical illusion stuff. In college, he's supposed to be having them, draw models. This is... How many movies have we watched with college and high school where it's the most boring high school and college? Because this school, he's like, no. they weren't drawing nude models. Right. Well, wait, I'll get to the rest of the boringness, but I want to stick to the art thing he's I'm not that. I'm just trying to. I'm not outraged by it because it's just an old movie.
Right, it's an old movie, and there's somebody, I doubt, even though he did write Brubaker, I doubt maybe the writer did not go to.
I don't want to spoil the movie, but this art teacher is somebody. Also, you're like, yeah, he'd have nude models, they'd have leather masks on. But we'll get there.
We'll get there.
And when I went to college, obviously there's some people who are super shy because, well, we are 18, 19. And basically I had this old guy, he's a famous painter. We were drawing the models and he'd walk around the room and he'd be going like, draw the penis. What's your problem? Draw the penis. Because there's obviously some shy boys or girls.
Yeah.
You get there like, we're not drawing that, right? And he'd come around like, no, put the balls on that.
Yeah, because what you want to do to a socially awkward college freshman in art school is, keep yelling the different genitalia right at them so everybody can hear. Yeah,
you can do that in art school.
That'll get them out of their shell. I wonder how many, and this is just I don't want to say a rhetorical question, but I really don't expect an answer from it. I wonder how many people got to art school and said, who would have been very talented artists and said, you know what, I just don't think this is for me.
Just because of that, you're saying?
Well, just because of, like.
That's how you weed out the people that can't take it, I think.
I see. Okay.
Are we talking, what are we still talking about?
We're talking about how she's gotten to where she's still at the school. She's met the headmistress who apparently was a student there. And the building has existed in one form or another for 300 years, which would bring it to like 1673.
Yeah. Did they mention the witch trials that happened in Massachusetts as if they had happened in California? Did I mishear that?
Well, the school is actually in
Salem.
The school was actually in Massachusetts.
What?
Okay. So, and this is kind of...
I double-checked it. I'm like, they're in California, right?
No, it opens up in California. The sister has flown from Massachusetts to California, and that opening... Now, I've been to LA a lot of times, and I'm sure there are some rural roads from LAX, but I don't ever remember leaving LAX and being on such a rural road. But
well,
again, it was 1973. So what do I know?
Yeah.
But the school was in Massachusetts. So yeah.
Well, I feel stupid. I thought I checked it online because I was like, are they supposed to be in Massachusetts? This looks so much like California, which obviously they were in California.
Oh, they definitely filmed it in California.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Of course, they filmed it in California. Yeah, but no, the setting was supposed to be in Massachusetts.
They didn't try it all for any kind of setting, any kind of old trees in Massachusetts.
Well, it was kind of, it was filmed at night a lot. So, I mean, I guess. And most of the action took place actually in the dormitories and the school building. So there weren't really a lot of exterior shots.
No.
Until people start getting beaten with sticks. But I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah, and before you move on from nude models, got one more thing.
Okay.
I started this with Trog, and I liked it. You know Crispin Glover, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
When I was thinking about this terrible art teacher and the nude models, something came to mind I wanted to share, and that is...
Crispin Glover was a nude model in your art class. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry.
No. It is how nude models are like Crispin Glover.
How are nude models like Crispin Glover?
Well, there's about 5 ways. Number 1, they both make you feel uncomfortable. The second way that nude models are like Crispin Glover, they both got close to David Letterman's face. Nude models and Crispin Glover both failed to appear in Back to the Future 2. And both Crispin Glover and nude models get a break after sitting still for 20 minutes.
So there. And Crispin Glover and nude models You don't want to look, but you can't help it.
Thank you, Jim.
There you go. And of course, as long as we're scratching off sponsors, let's scratch off future guests. You scratch off Crispin Glover.
Oh, man. I sent him an email asking.
I know. I'm still holding out for Louise Fletcher, so we might be okay. We might be able to do it without Crispin. But we can get
I'm still holding out for Paul Williams. Come on. I just don't think Paul Williams has a microphone. That's all.
I'll bet you that 60 years in the music business, he does not own a microphone. I'll bet you that's what it is.
All right.
I did see where Kenneth Asher did do the string arrangements on Meatloaf's 2 out of 3 Ain't Bad. Anyway.
Yeah, I think I mentioned that, John.
Did you really? I don't recall that.
You're asleep.
Maybe I was asleep. Did you mention that last week? Because yes, you did mention it last week.
No.
I was kind of just coming out of a coma.
So then they go to rat class. Do you have anything to say about this rat class?
The first thing, because there was a totally white maze. And then there was a red door because it was going to be part of the experiment because of the food. Initially, they were going to have the food behind the red door, and that's how the rest. I was under the impression that rats were colorblind, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know. I could be wrong about that. Maybe it's dogs. I don't know. But anyway,
I think you got okay.
So they were going to keep having the food behind the red door, and then they were going to put it behind the white door. And when they first showed that shot, I don't know if it was the angle or the lighting. But it looked like there was like blood dripping down.
I missed that.
Well, it's very easy to miss. But when they first showed the maze, I'm like, is that blood on the maze? And then when they do it from another angle, I was like, oh no, the entire door is red. But from that angle, I was like, have the mice been eating each other? You know, I was like,
yeah, because he keeps changing with the
where the food
right?
is. So eventually they turn each other and just become cannibals.
You noticed something about these mice?
Oh, first of all, can we say it's Professor...
These rats.
Oh, they're rats. Excuse
Professor...
me. Delacroix. Lloyd Bochner, who played Cecil Colby in a future Aaron Spelling production, Dynasty.
And
also played Hall Sr. in Mazes and Monsters.
Really?
A now classic Seti Bimco episode.
It is. Well, what's the name of the actor?
Lloyd Bochner.
He was doing his best John Cleese, don't you think? He was almost going full John Cleese.
I don't know what he was trying to do.
He was walking around like John Cleese.
I think he was just trying to get through 10 days of work and just trying to get a check is what I think Lloyd Bochner was trying to do.
But those rats, they weren't wearing any pants.
They weren't wearing any pants.
So this movie is not allowed to be shown in the state of Tennessee.
It does say TVM. Yes, it's not allowed to be because there are pants. There is rodent nudity in Satan's School for Girls. So if you are watching in Tennessee, we apologize. It probably is blocked out in your state. Unless your internet provider comes over the border from Kentucky, North Carolina, or Ohio.
But the rat party is very exciting, but not so exciting that they don't all have to run off to Dr. Clampett's famous wine parties. Yes,
and this is where I thought Dr. Clampett, is the typical younger, hip college professor
that hangs out with the students.
Hangs out with the students and gets them drunk, and we know.
Because every school should have a alcoholic mixer where the teachers drink with the students.
Exactly.
Oh, and they were all holding wine glasses. I don't know if you look close, but that wine had foam on it. I think they put beer or something
about that too. Because when they welcome Elizabeth to the school, they give her that huge. It looks like something that would be on a bar piano player's, you throw the tips in, you know what I'm talking about? That wine glass was so big. And it looked like it was beer. And then when Professor Clampett was drinking, but I think that might have been beer that he had. I don't know, but it did look like beer. I don't know. Yeah, I thought about that immediately too.
In the 70s, everybody was high, and they put beer in wine glasses, and they thought it was amazing.
And what were they high on, Tim?
Disco biscuits.
Disco biscuits, exactly.
Yes. Which we're happy to have as a sponsor. If they ever want
Disco biscuits. Get that 70s feeling with disco biscuits.
What happens next? They drink. They get drunk. Again, like many of the schools we've seen in movies, the most boring school. They at least drink wine, but there's no beer parties. There's no drugs in their room. There's no lesbian hookups because nothing. They do nothing.
Not even implied.
There wasn't even
like any like sexual lesbian tension.
No, there was no sexual tension between anybody.
Like, no back rubs, no shower scenes where they're scrubbing each other's backs.
Yeah, the normal
stuff. Come on,
Aaron
Aaron Spelling. You were going to be doing Charlie's Angels in another 3 years. Didn't you think of this?
Yes.
Or did the Brubaker guy not want to write it? Is that what it was? Hey Arthur, how about a scene where the girls are lathering each other down in the shower? He's like, no, I refuse to do it. In my contract, I have final say. Damn. And before we get too far into it, there is a very troubled girl. Well, several of them are troubled, as we find out later. But
she's the best artist, right?
And she's the best artist, and her name is
Liz.
Debbie.
Right? Oh, Debbie.
And she has painted a portrait of Elizabeth's sister, Martha, with this terrified look on her face. It was a very terrifying look. And it's a
very nice painting.
It was a very nice painting. And it was the most interesting thing that came out of that art class. I'm going to tell you.
I know. The other girl painted a tree.
A tray, I know. Kate Jackson painted a tray. And even the art teacher says, and maybe she'll figure out what to do with that. Or he said some real like snarky, passive aggressive comment. Did you notice that?
Yes, yeah.
Maybe this painting will go somewhere or something like that. I can't remember. But
you painted the sky blue. Interesting choice.
Yes. But I did notice very early on, Elizabeth and Martha's parents were dead. And then Lucy, the roommate in the beginning, who don't tell him that I told you, don't tell him that you met me when you go up there, who was Chris Pine's mother, the actress. Mm-hmm. She was an orphan. Kate Jackson was suddenly, like, things are starting to fall into place. Like, all these girls are orphans because they're all talking about guardians and all this stuff. And it's like, So kind of very early on, you're like,
But there still wasn't a lot. But yeah, I was like,
Yeah. Again, a lot of this stuff comes out in like the last 15 to 17 minutes where you're like, oh man, this would have made such a good movie if you actually like had spread it out the whole hour and 13 minutes. And maybe because the headmistress, Miss Williams, she apparently was a student there at one time.
Right.
That would have been a great story to have in flashbacks. Mm-hmm. The whole going back to the Salem witch trials, the legend was that there were 8 women who were accused of being witches in the Salem witch trial. Eight figures later in the story. That would have been a great flashback to have had. All these things.
Flashback to some boy carving her name on the door for a good time call.
For a good time call. Ezekiel.
No, the Dragon Lady. I forget. I don't know.
The Dragon Lady, Miss Williams.
They called her that so much that it was.
Yeah, and then in the end, it was like, Miss Williams, are you okay? So where are we now on this? So
the lights go out.
The lights go out. As a matter of fact, in the beginning, and you knew the lights were going to be going out because Jo Van Fleet, the headmistress in the beginning, gave Elizabeth the oil lamp to say, we're so far out, basically that they're so far out on the power grid that the power goes out a lot, and that at some point the power is going to go out.
Yeah.
I believe they call that dramatic foreshadowing, Tim, I believe is the correct term.
Yes, I think so.
So you're like, yeah, okay. The lights are, and then the lights finally do go out, and you're like, there you go. Saw it coming. So
she, visits her friend, who's Debbie, right?
Debbie, the kind of, keep using the word, the adjective troubled, for lack of a better word. She's very disturbed, very almost haunted. And then also word gets back at one point, and I'm kind of going out of sequence here, where Lucy, Martha's roommate, played by Chris Pine's mother, has also committed suicide. Eventually that news gets back to him. So now you've got Martha's committed suicide, and now Lucy, the roommate, has committed suicide. And
she bursts through the door in art class to say, remember, she bursts the door open and says, Debbie, Liz committed suicide. Or I can't remember who she said.
Debbie committed suicide. I can't remember. So the girl you talked to in the beginning that we don't know about because you're under the assumed name has committed suicide is basically the gist of it. Yeah, was it Cheryl Ladd? Maybe it was Cheryl Ladd. Yes. I don't know.
Because when we watch movies like this, I'm like, this movie was made because they just needed to sell some advertising on TV. It's as far from someone making a piece of art as you can get. But I try to look at it and think, so someone wrote this, so there's a germ of something there, just like The Boys Next Door. Probably it could have been just written as a piece of crap. And like I said, I looked at it and I thought, are they writing that it was Roy? Was he confused about his sexuality? Because he didn't seem to want to hunt down girls in the movie. And I'm like, it looks like they didn't think of that, but it almost seems that way. Did they try to write that and it got all taken out?
Or that's what I'm thinking. Did they write it and people are like, oh, a faggot movie isn't going to sell, so they kind of cut that out.
Well, it wouldn't have been a complimentary one to say I'm killing people because I'm confused. That's insulting too. But not that they're thinking that in the 80s. But.
Right. Well, no, actually, they were thinking about that in the 80s because there was a movie, again, not to get into gay history, but there was a movie with Al Pacino that came out around 80, 81 called Cruising.
Oh, yeah.
Do you recall this? And it was a gay serial killer and... Or it was a serial killer in the gay world. I'm not sure if they ever determined the serial killer was gay. And the gay
protest.
The gay community said because it was a poor portrayal of gay people. Because not that there wouldn't be a gay serial killer, John Wayne Gacy, but that there were so few representations of gay men. Why was it the movie you made had the gay man a killer? I think is kind of the point.
I vaguely remember that there were protests.
Yeah.
So anyway.
And it's actually a terrible movie, and I don't know why Al Pacino did it. He kind of had a little lull there. Okay, now we're really getting off. I could talk about author, and Cruising and Justice for All, and I could kind of get through that kind of
John's spin-off podcast, Gay History with John, will be coming soon.
Coming soon. And when Chris Pine finally comes out of the closet, come on
the show.
Come on the show, Chris. You can be my co-host. We're going to get sued by Chris Pine now, aren't we?
Yes. Chris Pine, not a sponsor.
Because his mother might hear, one of these actors is going to be like, oh, Satan School for Girls, I did that movie in 1973. And she's going to listen to it. And that we're calling her son a closeted homosexual. But hey, we might get some listeners.
I might get some listeners.
Like Catherine Hepburn says,
no such thing as bad history.
If publicity's good or bad, just spell my name right.
Yes, that's true. All right.
Okay, so
I lost track where we were. She steals the girl's painting.
She steals the girl's painting.
Oh, she finds the place in the basement. It was painted because she...
Right.
Yeah.
She goes. Okay, so let's because this is kind of there was like a lot of dramatic music, and she's just sort of looking around with the house. Does she have the oil lamp on her or the flashlight? I can't remember. Some light source.
The lamp, because the lights have gone out.
And there's a big build up to just show this like knife in a hand in the corner.
Yes, in the basement.
And she runs off and cut to Lloyd Bochner looking at her with an angry face on. So you're led to believe that Lloyd Bochner is the killer. The red herring is, I believe, what they call that.
Because he was only in the basement with a knife spreading ketchup on his mayonnaise sandwich.
Exactly.
I think that's what was going on.
He had hot dogs mayonnaise.
Because we never knew why he was in the basement with the knife.
Reese's Pieces. And he's like, you know what? I can't have just mayonnaise on this hot dog. Give me some ketchup too.
Yes.
Kind of have like a little Thousand Island action going on there. Yeah.
That was the 70s.
It was the 70s.
That was in the cookbook. Julia Child cookbook.
There you go. So wait, now I am kind of lost. Okay, let me.
No. We cut to his face because we're in rat class the next day.
We're in rat class, and those screaming rats are really getting on my nerves. Can I just say that out loud?
He's teaching rats what it was going to be like to be on Facebook in the future.
Right, exactly.
Totally psychotic behavior he's teaching them.
Yeah.
He was like, are the rats coming towards you or are the rats receding? Close your eyes.
Yeah, close your eyes. Are they coming at your face, ripping out your eyes, or are they scared of your face and cowering in a corner?
Right.
Now, blink your mind And, now they're coming and ripping out your eyes.
I wish there were more rat action in this movie, but we only got 2 rat classes.
You got 2 rat classes in this.
The whole movie.
There's probably 3 or 4 on the cutting room floor because they had to get it all in an hour and 15 minutes because they had to advertise, I don't know, Tang.
I think there's an outtake I read about where
I think Tang,
rat class, the girls dressed up the rats in little suits.
Yeah, if I do recall, I do believe Tang did sponsor this,
Yes.
And York peppermint patties.
We're losing viewers. They don't know what Tang is.
Tang. Yeah, it was terrible because I believe also on that night a Charlie Brown Christmas was running. But anyway, so we go to the next night where Elizabeth returns to the cellar with Roberta this time, Kate Jackson. Right. And they find so in between, like somehow Debbie has gotten out of her room and she like looks out into the dark and she just starts laughing like like almost maniacally, like she's free. And she goes running into the dark. And that's the last you see of Debbie alive because the next night, Elizabeth, and I'm going to call her Kate Jackson because we're never going to remember Roberta, go down in the basement and they find
that's right
her dad. Now, how they determined this is suicide? Because
she was covered with ketchup.
She was covered with ketchup.
If you noticed, and she was allergic to ketchup, John.
She was allergic to ketchup, which they had established.
They didn't establish
at the wine party. They said, "Hey, Debbie, would you like some ketchup in your wine?" She's like, "Oh no!"
And she screamed and ran out.
She screamed and ran out and said, "I'm allergic to ketchup." So sodium will send my blood pressure through the roof. So so they determined that a suicide.
Right. Okay. We don't know why.
How they came up with. Okay, I could kind of see like the sister in the locked room or the locked living room, hanging in the beginning. I could probably see the room because they never really did dramatize that on screen. That was sort of like that happened, off scene. They just came in and talked about it. But I mean, how they came up with a suicide on that one, I don't know. They're finally going to confront Professor Delacroix. Lloyd Bochner. And they burst into his office because they're convinced he's the one that's doing all these murders. And they come in and he has a gun in his hand with this deranged look on his face. And he thinks something is after him and he jumps out the window.
Yes, 2 stories.
2 stories. Gets up, kind of brushes himself off and runs off to the lake. He falls into the lake.
Yeah, he doesn't know the grounds very well. He's just falling into
For somebody who's taught there for as long as he has, he really does not, does he? So
First he fell into the tar pits, but he got out of that.
He got out of that.
Then he fell into the
tar pits because he saw the lady getting hit in the head with the bottle. And then he ran top. Oh, wait, am I confusing my movies? I think I'm confusing my movies now. So anyway, Cheryl Ladd shows up with this big, like, pole.
Bamboo.
It looks like one of those poles that you would a
gondola.
A gondola or like a raft down the. It looks like something that'd be like Huck Finn, like going down the Mississippi on the raft, and you'd use this pole to. And he's like reaching out to the pole, like help me, and all these girls start circling. They've all got poles, and they just basically start beating the tar out of him.
Yes. And he can't swim away. Even though it's only 2 feet of water. It looks like it, yes.
I mean, it looks like that kind of, doesn't look so much like a lake as it looks kind of like a swamp is what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? It's like, dude, just stand up. Just stand up, Lloyd Bochner. You'll be fine. You won't be drowning. But at that point, the sticks were all around him, and whether he was standing or not, he would have just gotten the bejesus beaten out of him, which he did.
So we know that all the women are evil except for our hero and Kate. Is it Kate?
Kate Jackson.
Kate Jackson, not Kate and Allie. Kate Jackson.
Or do we know that, Tim?
I had already figured out she was not to be trusted.
Because I had already had the plot in Wikipedia. See, that's the thing. You read.
I didn't read the whole plot.
You read the plot in Wikipedia, and then you go watch the movie. And you're like, So there was nothing to really, and like these scenes that I thought were going to be really scary. I'm like, ooh, okay, the scene where a man with a sharp object tries to accost her. So I'm like bracing myself for like this thing to just like boom, pop out on the screen. It's just like they just show a hand with a knife. I'm like, well, that was anticlimactic.
Yes.
I'm waiting for these scary scenes to make me jump out of my skin, and they never happen because it was ABC in 1973. I'm guessing.
Yes. Well, here's my, they're all acting. Well, maybe we'll get to the end of the movie. Okay, let's just get to the end of the movie.
Let's not prolong the agony any longer.
We're there.
So Miss Williams, the headmistress of the Dragon Lady, Jo Van Fleet, is sitting in her office, and she thinks that she's still a student in the school because she's going to get demerits because the headmistress she's in trouble with the headmistress, and you shouldn't be in her office, and don't be looking through that. You're going to get thrown out of school. Again, which would have been a great flashback to see. Like, this has obviously been going on because he's trying to replace these 8 girls who were killed in the basement during the Salem witch trials. There's 8.
Yep.
And that's the premise. He's trying to get this. He's got 7 girls that are devoted to him. He's trying to get to the 8th girl. And so Elizabeth's sister, Martha, was going to be
which is weird because I thought 7 was like the evil number.
Well, there were the 7 sisters in Psychomania. I know. I don't know how they came up with 8. Maybe I should have researched this more.
Is 8 a magic number, or is 3 a magic number, or is 2 a magic?
Well, I know the song was 3. 3 is a magic number.
Okay, well that is the magic number, John.
Yes, it is. A man and a woman have a little baby. Remember Schoolhouse Rock?
I do.
3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9.
Not going to be a sponsor of the show because they don't exist anymore.
They don't. Anyway, and hopefully we won't have to pay money for that song. But I believe the gentleman who wrote it did just pass away about 2 or 3 years ago. All right. So blah, 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 blah. And
we're down to the 2 girls because they send all the other girls away.
They send all the other girls away. Well, they're in the basement, we find out.
Well, not all, like most of the girls. This school seems to have a bunch of students that we only see in one scene when they put them on buses.
Right. They get put on buses and they're all driven out.
One girl's like in love with the art teacher, which is how it is. She's leaving.
Well, I think they were all in love with the art teacher. Yeah, I think they all were.
Of course.
You could have had them all. He could have nailed them all. But okay, so getting back to like this 8, we're talking about 8. So, he needed this 8th girl, and there was going to be Martha, and she wouldn't do it. And then the roommate, Chris Pine's mother, who obviously wouldn't do it. And then Debbie, who obviously wouldn't do it. So they all wound up, air quotes, committing suicide. And I don't know, did they think that Elizabeth might be the 8th one? I don't know. They get down to the basement. The 6 girls are in the robes. Mm-hmm. The professor, the art professor, is in this dark cloak.
Obviously, Satan.
He's Satan.
He's dressed in a dark cloak.
Like you do when you're a 20-year-old girl. You want to get in tight with Satan.
Yes. And
then basically, like, Kate Jackson turns around. And she's actually kind of like the head girl. She's kind of like like Satan's lieutenant.
Mm-hmm. And she puts on a white robe.
She puts on the white robe. And, so they start talking about the whole thing. And Elizabeth takes an oil lamp, throws it. The cellar bursts into flames. They all just kind of stand there accepting their fate. She goes upstairs, gets Miss Williams, the headmistress, out. She grabs the oil lamp out of her head. There must have been a lot of oil on that lamp because, boy, she throws it on the stairs. And it's like a 3-alarm fire immediately.
Well, halfway through the movie, I was like, oil lamps. I bet you she's going to set whoever on fire that's behind us.
Go. Yeah, there you go. So they get out, and finally the cops show up. Finally, because earlier in the thing, Miss Williams, the headmistress, she pretended like she was calling, but she had her hand on the plunger on the phone. For those of you who did not leave in 1973 with a rotary dial phone, you used to hang up your phone with the plunger that the receiver rested in the cradle on. And how they knew to come out, I don't know. But suddenly there they were.
But they're like, but the firemen, are you going to say this? Or
well, there were no firemen. It was just the cops. They're like, we thought that because of the power problem that this place, and there it was, burning.
But he was like, oh, well, we're too late. That's pretty much what he just stood there. He didn't run to do anything.
I'm not going in. They're dead already. I mean, there's no sense.
That's what he said. He's like, we're too late.
We're too late. I'm not going in.
You need some donuts?
My salary. I got 3 years to my pension. I'm not going in. I'm retiring. I'm moving to Boca. Basically, so then Satan / the art professor,
of course,
is standing there watching the burning building, smoking a cigarette, and the artist basically fades away, and they pan down to the ground, and the lawn is burned where he was standing. And roll credits and start waiting for the Emmy nominations.
Yeah, so here's my theory.
Okay. Oh, I want to hear this.
I think, like the band ABBA.
Oh, don't Don't you dare drag ABBA into this, Mr. Tim Hamilton.
All the people at this school run drugs, just like ABBA.
Just like ABBA. And hence
No, I think the CIA laced everything in that school with LSD. That's the only thing that explains what was going on at that school.
Yeah.
They were all very high.
Yeah. They're all on hallucinogens. It was a CIA experiment, from that wine party, air quotes again. That's where the LSD got slipped to them.
Nobody burned up.
They all just
maybe they did. I don't know, but
no, I think they did. They just didn't care at that point.
They just didn't care. Did you have a theory? Or are you done with this movie?
I had no theory. I was like, okay, roll credits. Thank God.
That means it's quiz time.
I'll call it
the
SETI Q&A.
Brain twist.
Answering quizzes.
Theme song. You like quizzes, John?
I do love quizzes. I'll call it SETI Q&A.
Brain twist. The BIMCO. I love quizzes.
Answering
the BIMCO.
I'll call it theme song. No.
Did you know I made a quiz? Did you make a quiz?
I did not make a quiz because I was thinking you were just going to do the standard.
Okay. I liked it when you challenged my brain that one time.
Oh, okay. I didn't have it in me this week.
I'm going to do this one.
There were so many things I was going to do this week, and but we'll save them for another week. But no, coming up with a quiz was not one of them, and I thought, well, worst case scenarios, we'll just go to those standard.
We'll see if the viewers like quiz time.
Yeah, George
will hate it, and then we'll have about 100 other viewers that love it. So
Joe Van Fleet farted in the elevator. No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
Yes.
She couldn't help it, though. She couldn't help it,
Who most likely would fart in a crowded elevator from this movie?
I got to say Joe Van Fleet, but I don't think she'd do it intentionally. I just don't think she could help herself.
I think once she thought she was a student again, we're going to find out she's just an awful, terrible person as a student, and she just farts in the elevator all the time.
Farting in the dining hall all the time, in elevators. Any chance she would get, she would just let one rip. See, there was the story right there.
Yes, ratting out every girl that had a boy in her room.
Yeah,
she was just a terrible person.
Yeah, all those rats. Remember when they first go into Lloyd Boschier's office, and all the rats are dead because she let one rip. It was noxious, and all the rats died.
All right, we killed that question.
We nailed it.
Okay, who would most likely start a podcast from this movie? Let's see.
Gosh.
I think that's pretty obvious. It's the girl that lived that investigated it. Yeah,
Elizabeth.
Right?
Yeah, it'd be like a true crime. Like, it'd be like she'd be going after like satanic cults. Like that would be her.
She would end up doing the Satanic Panic of the 90s, like and she'd have a podcast.
7 years later, she was doing episodes of Donahue, because you know how Donahue, to get like national attention, came up with these like outlandish episodes, and it'd be like, oh yeah, I chased down satanic cults. And then she eventually, after Donahue, years later, would have done a podcast or had a podcast done about her.
Or she'd be on Alex Jones's show.
Oh, there you go. So. Yeah, she'd probably be a Trump voter. Yeah, she'd be MAGA. I hadn't thought of that.
So, who would most likely have a TV spinoff? Well, I say Satan. Obviously,
probably.
I think he should show up every week.
Yeah,
and tempt women. This would be an HBO show.
Right, it would be like
be a lot of nudity,
like Three's Company with Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Like two girls struggling in LA on their own have to take on a third roommate, and oh my God, Satan is my roommate, and all their girlfriends start air quotes again committing suicide every episode. That'd be like the running gag.
Oh, geez.
That'd be like the running gag, girls committing suicide every week.
It's funny you say this. I don't watch this. Someone I know watches this. There's a show called Lucifer. Are you familiar with it?
I'm familiar. I've never seen it, but I am familiar with it.
So that's funny. That is about Satan living in
the modern world, yes.
Anyway, enough of that. Who in this movie would win in a fight with Maude Finley?
Nobody beats Maude Finley.
Nobody?
Not even Satan.
Satan didn't have a chance?
Not even Beelzebub himself would stand a chance against Maude Finley.
I think Kate Jackson would give her a run for her money, though.
Nah, Kate Jackson, unless she had Beelzebub or Satan right there with her, Kate Jackson would crumble. Kate Jackson would crumble. She would be no match for Maude Finley.
Well, that's the end of quiz time.
That is the end of Quiz Time and the end of Satan School for Girls, which, by the way, they did remake in 2000 with Miss Shannon Doherty in the lead role. And I wanted to see it just to see what they did with it, but the only thing I could find was like an actual physical DVD copy for $12.95. And I'm like, first of all, I don't even know where my DVD player is. Secondly, I'm guessing up in my mother's attic with the typewriters and the 8-track player. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, that would have been. Although I did notice that she actually did pick a different last name for her assumed identity. So they wised up by 2000.
This is the best part of the show where we hope we have mail, and we do have mail.
I am so excited.
I sent this to you, so I hope I'm saying this right. But we got a letter from New York Times bestseller George O'Connor, who's been on the show.
Yes, a beloved guest. Can I say beloved? Would that be?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we like George O'Connor very much.
He says, "Hi, SETI Bimkovites."
Ooh, that's what we used to call each other when I was in the Communist Party. But anyway, go ahead.
Right, yes.
Bimkovites.
One-time guests.
There were the Bolsheviks, there were the Trotskyites, and there were the Bimkovites.
There were.
I was one of the Bimkovites. Go ahead, Tim. I'm sorry. I'm interrupting your letter.
I just can't yes and that. I have nothing.
Okay.
Bimkovites. All right. One-time guest, second-time writer George O'Connor here. Regarding the last episode, Psycho Bico, I was amused by John's repeatedly calling frogs turtles. Yes. I didn't edit it out, John. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
However, I continued pedantically.
Pedantically, yes.
Yes, I continued. However, I continued pedantic.
I continued. John wrote it off several times.
Oh, I see. John wrote it off several times as saying he was confusing amphibians. Well, frogs are indeed amphibians, but turtles are, of course, reptiles. Their last common ancestor lived over 350 million years ago. Fun fact, turtles are more closely related to birds than frogs. Well, that's all I have to say. I'm that sort of guy now who writes into podcasts about reptiles. Death to Maud, your pal George.
Well, first of all, George O'Connor, death to Maud. Them's fighting words. Them's fighting words. Oh, and who could take on Maud in a fight? New York Times bestselling author George O'Connor? I think not. I think not.
I'm afraid George would lose.
Zeus, Hera, Maud Finley would annihilate them all. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. Oh, and by the way, cutting down my intelligence, coming from a New York Times bestselling author, it doesn't hurt any less. It doesn't hurt any less. Words are like fists, George O'Connor. I'm a very, very fragile person, but that's okay. But yes, I did speak incorrectly. And as a matter of fact, as I was saying, I'm like, maybe turtles aren't amphibians, but I thought amphibian meant that like they spent part of their time on land and part of their time in water. Mm-hmm. That was my definition of an amphibian, which was probably how it was explained to me in second grade, and I know it was probably wrong. And
I didn't catch it either. I thought turtles lived in the sewer. They ate pizza. They were named Raphael, Michelangelo.
Donatello.
Yeah, that's what I thought turtles were all about. Mm-hmm. I don't know if George has his turtle facts straight.
Well, and I'm also wondering, that story, and again, not to bring up a painful moment in George O'Connor's, life, but he did tell us a story about the cute girl who thought he was gay, and that's why maybe he couldn't continue things with her. Maybe if he thought back, did he correct that girl? Did she call turtles amphibians and he corrected her? Maybe that's why he didn't. Maybe that's why he's like, what is this guy talking about? And turtles are related to birds. So, but George, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for pointing it out to me. I have seen the error in my ways, and I will be more. I will be more thorough in my research next time.
Reptile expert, heal thyself.
Yes, thank you, George. No, thank you, George. Thank you,
George.
Thank you for pointing out my shortcomings.
We're just kidding you.
Your name will be coming up with a therapist quite frequently next week.
Is your therapist jealous of this show because it probably does you more good than therapy?
Yeah, I know, right? Actually, I don't have a therapist anymore. No, I went to my last therapy session was 6 years ago, and it was on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and I called the next day, which was Thursday and Friday, and I said, "Oh yeah, by the way, I'm canceling my next therapy session. In fact, I don't think I'm coming back. I think I'm cured."
Okay.
And I never went back. No, because at that point, I've been going to the therapist for
Were you talking to the secretary?
Well,
when you said I'm cured?
No, it was after hours. I got the voicemail. I was just I think I'm cured. And nobody called me back.
Because I pictured a secretary who's like,
yeah, writing this down. Writing this down. I am cured. No, at that point, I've been going to therapy for 15 years. And my dad was dying, and it was just and I was like, you know what? It's been 15 years. I think, there's going to be bad times in life, and I'm just going to have to figure it out.
Yeah.
No, George, I said all that was in jest. Thank you for the letter. It was a very funny letter. It really was.
Thank you for the letter, George.
And thank you for being our guest still,
Mm-hmm. Now we got a letter from Corey Corcoran. I know Corey vaguely. He's a comic movie fan. He's a fan of the Bat and Spider podcast, which is a fun podcast. They've mentioned us, so I'm just mentioning them back. Go listen to the Bat and Spider podcast with Chuck and Dale, and the movie mixtape with Marcy and Dirk, because you got to mention Dirk. Right. See, nothing British came up, so I couldn't be like, Dirk, explain this. Let's explain the Aqua Scuba.
Although Elizabeth in Satan's School for Girls was an English actress, and she was in the prime of Miss Jean Brodie with Miss Maggie Smith.
She slipped a few times, I think. I was like, what? English accent? Did you hear that?
I did kind of hear it a couple of CBG can cover it because it's kind of almost like a Boston accent too. It was kind of was that English or was that Boston?
Yeah. Anyway, Corey Corcoran. I don't mean to ignore you, Corey. Corey writes, "Hey, Tim and John."
Well, first of all, Corey does have a fanzine.
Okay, well, I'm going to get to that, John. I didn't forget.
Well, I just thought as part of the introduction, if we're talking about Corey.
Yes. He has a fanzine.
He has a fanzine.
Yeah.
And the name of the fanzine is?
Screezine.
Screezine, yes.
I hope I'm saying that right.
It
looks. I've seen pictures of it. It looks great, Corey. I didn't order one yet, but I'll fix that.
We'll take care of that.
So, Corey, this is Corey. I'm reading the letter now, John.
Mm-hmm.
This is Corey from Austin, Texas. I'm loving the show so far. I can't thank y'all enough for not being yet another movie podcast. I'm also thankful that y'all are taking the time and effort to hit the late 40s to mid 50-year-old demographic super hard. Yay.
Well, we kind of can't help it.
I listened to every episode in the past 4 days and finally caught up today. I'm glad I started from episode 1 so I could be in the loop with all the callbacks to previous episodes. That's right. You want to be up on the SETIverse.
You really do, because I tell you, some days it just comes flying at you.
So far, the guests have been great, but the show doesn't even need them. Listening to you two is like hanging out with a couple of friends that you can't get a word in edgewise with. I mean that as a compliment, of course.
And we feel that way.
Yes,
we're constantly talking over each other. We say that at the end of every episode. I'm so sorry I talked over you. No, I'm sorry I talked over you. But we have known each other since we were 15 years old. Yes. And by the way, we do love our guests. We do love our guests. Thank you for that compliment. Mm-hmm. For that compliment, Corey. But we do love it when we have our guests, too.
I hope John never stops telling depressing stories about his friends and family, and Tim never stops referencing Mod episodes. I'm keeping my fingers crossed for a possible Mod Pod. Pronounced Mod Pod, I guess.
Yes.
I like Mod Pod.
Mod Pod. Hey, we can play two guys.
Someday.
We can play two guys from Boston. Yeah, welcome to the Mod Pod.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm Frank. This is Jerry. We're from Needham. Go Sox. This is the Mod Pod.
More fun to say John.
John.
You're John.
All right. Let's finish Corey's letter. I'm so sorry.
But P.S. I always listen to the very end so I can hear the angelic voices of Chuck and Dale singing Party Line.
Party line. It's a party line.
I asked their permission for that, and they said they would eventually charge me. So, no, they said they were honored.
Oh, that was
making that up, John. But thank you, Corey. It's a very, very nice letter. I'm really glad to hear that somebody likes listening to us.
I'm glad somebody is listening to us.
We need to watch a movie or to have a guest. Just I like talking to people. I don't care what their job is, really.
Yeah.
As long as they fit into the show. And
yeah. That's why I've got to figure out like who in my life I would get on here.
But thank you, Corey. Thank you for the letter.
Thank you, Corey. That was very kind. And
I want to see your Screezine.
Screezine, I want to check that out too.
And if you want to buy Screezine, Corey, do you want me to give out your Instagram? Corey Corcoran. I'd have to look it up, Corey. We'll do it. We'll do it sometime.
Corey, send us an email and let us know yay or nay on giving out your Instagram information. No, seriously.
Yeah.
And we can give it out.
Well, he wants to sell Screezine. I'm sure if you Google that, you'll find him.
Right, yeah.
Screezine, which is spelled Skreezine. So, all right.
Okay.
That's the end of the show.
That is the end of the show, which is very, turned out pretty well, I got to say. We're kind of starting to get the hang of this, aren't we?
Yeah. If you want to send an email in, it's SetiBimco with an E at the end of it at gmail.com. And we're on Instagram, SETI_BIMCO, and SetiBim at Twitter. There. And that is the end of the show.
That is the end of the show. Tim, as always.
Bye, John. I'll see you next week.
Line, it's a party line.
Seti Bimco is a podcast by Tim Hamilton and John Kelly. Produced by Miss Lee. Music by Tim Hamilton. This has been a Pity Party Line production.
Party line, it's a party line.